Hello everyone. Razorblade Mango here. And today I want to talk about a game that I feel like is unfortunately going to get buried among the big, much bigger games that have come out this season, which is a game called Open Roads. And this is a game that was developed by the team formerly known as Fullbright, who are the team behind games like Gone Home and Tacoma. And of course, this game is published by Annapurna Interactive. So this is a game in a genre that I don't particularly have any fondness for. If I'm going to use the dignified term for this genre, it's the interactive drama genre. Or if I want to use the more derogatory term, walking simulator. I'm usually not a fan of this type of game. I usually find them annoying and pretentious and a really low value for what they sometimes charge. But Open Roads is one of the rare exceptions to my general opinion on walking simulators, or because I think Open Roads is actually quite good. I guess I will use the more dignified term, the interactive drama genre of video games. And Open Roads is about a mother and daughter going on a very impromptu road trip where they're going out to solve a mystery regarding the recently deceased grandma in the family, which is the mother's mother and the daughter's grandmother. Along the way, you go and explore certain areas, you pick up items, you examine them in order to trigger dialogue with the mother. There's some light branching narrative kind of stuff that doesn't really impact the story as a whole, but can influence certain things, how conversations go with the mother and daughter. You've heard this all before. But what I think sets Open Roads apart from a lot of the other games of its ilk, at least for me, is that I think the interactive drama tropes help to complement the themes and the characters at the heart of the story. There's a lot that I can relate to with Open Roads on a personal level. And I don't know what the hell's going on in 2024. I don't know if it's just the games or if I'm becoming more of a softie as the years go on. But this is the third game in a row that I've played in 2024 that I have very personally, strongly related to. It's resonated with me on a personal level. After Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which resonated with me very strongly, and now Open Roads. This is the third game this year that I can look at and go, yeah, I can very deeply identify with what's going on in this game. My maternal grandma died about a year and a half ago. My grandma was at the center of some dark family stuff that is very complicated and icky, depending on who you ask. And it's kind of a lot of, well, he said, she said kind of stuff. But it's had its ripple effects throughout our family. And I'm certain there are things that my grandma took with her to her grave that no one will ever know about. To see that reflected in Open Roads, in the story that it's tackling, I found to be very relatable. And another thing I found relatable was the mother and daughter relationship that is at the heart of this story, because their whole dynamic, it reminded me a lot of my own relationship that I have with my mom. And some of the conversations that the two of them have, the little quirks, are things that I could identify, between the relationship that my mom and I have. So I found that to be very personally compelling. And I think that is really what carried the experience for me. And I think the performances from Kerry Russell and Caitlin Dever, who voiced the mom and daughter respectively, are very strong. And while the writing isn't particularly deep or exceptional, I'm not going to be quoting dialogue from this game years from now, but I think the really strong voice acting elevates the writing. And I think what's cool too about Open Roads is that after playing 2 massive games this year, like Infinite Wealth and Rebirth, Open Roads was a relaxing and surprisingly enjoyable little palate cleanser. I usually scoff at this very walking simulator gameplay loop of looking through junk in order to trigger dialogue. But the fact that the story revolves around a mother and daughter exploring long abandoned places and trying to sift through junk in order to find the meaningful things that they're there to find and to add more context to the mystery that they're trying to tackle, that I think is when the walking simulator tropes actually enhance the story and vice versa. I think this is really cool because I found this whole thing particularly irritating in something like the team's previous game, Gone Home, but I think it works in Open Roads. The cool thing about this game too is that I think it has a very chill ambiance. There's something very aesthetically enjoyable about walking through these environments and listening to the little atmospheric music in the background that I found to be just very calming and pleasing. And that's kind of about it about Open Roads. So the thing with Open Roads is that it's not even necessarily a game that I can recommend at its full price because it's $20. And I think $20 is quite an ask for something like this. Something that if you really are trying to find everything and you're exploring everything, it'll take you about 3 hours to finish. But like I always say, quantity does not necessarily mean quality. And I think there are certain games that only take a handful of hours that I could easily recommend for $20. I think something like What Remains of Edith Finch or Journey, for instance. Open Roads, though, probably not $20. But I think if it were to go on sale, or if you have Game Pass, because this is going to be in Game Pass day one. So if you have Game Pass, you technically already have access to this game. I'd say it's worth a playthrough because it feels like a very tight to the point game. Again, if you're like me, where you're just kind of burned out on these massive games and you need some kind of break from it, I think this is a good little palate cleanser for you. And I definitely think it's one of the more interesting smaller games I've played in recent years. Because there's a lot of smaller games that I play on the back end that you guys don't know about. Because I don't talk about them on the channel, except maybe in passing. And it's because I don't really have a lot to say about them. There's a lot of games that I go, oh yeah, game good, or game mediocre, game bleh. Don't want to talk about it. But this is one of those ones where I actually do have something to say about it. So that's cool, and I also just wanted to spotlight it because, again, when it's coming up alongside releases such as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Dragon's Dogma 2 and Princess Peach Showtime and Rise of the Ronin, it's like, no, a lot of people are not going to give a shit about Open Roads. But I wanted to do my part to highlight it because I actually do think it's worthy of your time if you can get it on sale or if you have Game Pass. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Open Roads. Let me know if you guys have played it. And as always, yeah, I'm Basically Mingo, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.